Hey everybody, we're going to pick up right where we left off on this 1966 Chevy 1-ton. We were doing kind of a fake patina paint job on the last episode, and well, we got a few people upset. They don't think that it's going to look good, so let's prove them wrong. Let's see if we can. So in case you missed the videos, we repainted this whole truck with Rustoleum spray paint, 2-tone and all, and well, it was really shiny, and I didn't care for it too much. I wanted to kind of weather this a little bit, so we went through and just kind of sanded it, just to kind of dull it down a bit, you know, because it was super shiny before. And we went through and just kind of burnt through in some areas, nothing too drastic. You see there, kind of created a pretty cool effect. It just made it look like an old paint job or an original paint job from 60 years ago that's still in decent shape, you know what I mean? Just kind of Mother Nature weathered it in all the right places. And well, we left off on the hood, so we're just gonna pick up right where we left off, man. See if we can't get that hood looking right. Well, all right, here we go again, man. We're just gonna repeat the same process that we did over in this area right here. You know, we're gonna do it over the entire hood. We're just gonna get in here and build these layers up, man. Just get all this weird sporadic type thing going on here. This can really sucks, but it adds the texture, and that's what we want. So don't be worrying about stuff like that. That actually plays into it. Because we'll take our paintbrush and just kind of smear all of this when we're done. Remember, if you guys caught the last video, you know that that's how we did it. We just took our a really old crappy paintbrush and just went through here with some lacquer thinner on that brush and just kind of smeared all of this stuff is how it worked. And then it turns into stuff like that. And I know some of y'all are looking at that spot thinking like, wow, Weird Beard, that's hideous. Like what's going on there? You'll see. Just trust the process, man. We're going to tie all of this together. Some of y'all just really just didn't like this, but that's all right. That's what makes the world go around, different strokes for different folks and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, let's let this layer dry for a minute. Remember, it's very important that you let each layer dry before you put on the next one. All right, so I went over the whole hood with that weird brown color. That can is in bad shape, so it did a lot of spitting and a sputtering, but that's okay. Now I'm gonna go over it with some flat black. Give it a nice little, mostly covered. Running out of paint, I'll have to grab another can. It's a good way to use up all your near empty cans, you know? Just go through this stuff like this. Now remember, you're going kind of light on these coats because you're gonna go back and sand all of this. The heavier you make each coat, the more sanding you're gonna be doing, so. Want to kind of go lightly on these. We want to come through and we want to burn through all of this with our sandpaper. In case you're not familiar with the process, yeah, we're going to go through and we're going to burn through every bit of this. Meaning, we're going to sand through it is what I'm talking about. When I say burn through it, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Obviously, the thicker the paint is, the more sanding you got to do, more work for yourself. And we're using pretty fine grits of sandpaper when we're doing this. Using like 320 grit. It could take a little while to sand through stuff like this with 320 grit, and then we go from that to 600. Those aren't very gritty sandpapers. The reason we do that is we don't want a whole bunch of sand and scratches. We want it to appear as like the sun had kind of wore the paint off, by Mother Nature, and sandpaper doesn't factor into that, you know what I mean? Maybe we'll hit it up with a little bit of red here and there. Be kind of cool when we go through to sand some of this, get a little bit of that red here and there. The actual paint job on this had a little bit of red bleeding through in certain spots, so this will kind of go with it. Really, just kind of lightly dust this down. It's gonna look cool when we sand through it. Okay, another layer. Let's see. This one, I think they called this nutmeg. Kind of a weird little color, but it does give a pretty cool effect once you hit it with that lacquer thinner. All of this works together pretty good for creating a paint job that looks like Mother Nature did it, you know what I mean? All right, we got a mess going now, don't we? Let's get some of this old orange. This is the orange that doesn't quite match. We're gonna put it on first. Basically, I'm gonna do everything exactly the way I did that first spot I showed y'all in the last video. The spot most of y'all hated. I want to do all this exactly the same. And then the difference is, the thing I didn't show y'all on the last video is that after we do this, we're going to actually go through and cover it up with the actual orange, the actual color of the rest of the truck, you know what I mean? And at that point, that's when it'll all start to look right. You know, the problem with this is that most people can't imagine the end result because it just looks so bad leading up to that. So here we go, man. My old dirty paintbrush, some old lacquer thinner. We're gonna let most of that lacquer thinner drip out of the brush. We want the brush to be kind of dry. And we're just gonna run it right down through there. Try to break through that orange, get down to all those other colors and just kind of mix them, you know? Look at it. Whoa, whoa. That's what happens if you get the brush a little too wet, but that's all right. Remember, there's no real way to screw this up. Remember, we want it to look crappy, y'all. I can't stress it enough. We want this to be kind of a mess at first. And I'll tell you what, we're there. We got that accomplished. After this, we're going to go and hit it up with our sandpaper. And to me, that's where the magic happens, you know? When you start hitting it up with the sandpaper and you start kind of feathering all this together, it looks like art, really, to be honest. It has kind of an artistic look to it, of sorts. And then, of course, we're going to go back with our orange paint and cover all of this up after we've smoothed it all out. Okay, aside from just doing the paintbrush trick with the lacquer thinner, I also went through with the lint-free paper towel, dabbed in some lacquer thinner, kind of went through and just did the whole thing. You guys remember we did that on a previous video, and this is what we end up with. Get a lot of paper towel kind of stuck to the surface. Actually, believe it or not, I actually want that. So after that, what I did is I came through with my flat black, sprayed down the whole thing. You see that there? And I went back and worked all of it down smooth with my 320 grit sandpaper and some water. Just wet sand it up. That looks rough. Look at all that. Look at all the little details in there. Looks like it's been painted many times over the years. Got a lot of flaws in it. That's exactly what we want. You see there's no paper towels or any of that. See, look at all that. Look at all that. That's what this looked like a few minutes ago. It's all nice and smooth and ready for our orange paint to go over the top of that. So we're going to come over here and do this side exactly the same way. We're going to go through, put our flat black paint on here. Just want to kind of mist it on there. This is going to dry really quick. Remember, the flat colors are the ones that dry the fastest and they sand back down the easiest without gumming up your sandpaper. kind of an important thing. You don't need the gloss anyway. You know, you're going to go back and sand all these, you know, every time we do something, we go back and we sand it before we go on to the next thing. And there's just no need for gloss paint anyway. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. Get you a bunch of flat black colors. Flat colors, not just flat black, but just try to get flat colors. Semi-gloss will work too. Satin will work. It's the gloss ones that'll give you a pain. But anyway, we'll let that dry, and then I'm going to come back and sand it like I did that other side. Okay, let's do some sanding. This is exactly what I'm talking about right here, man. We only had to let this dry for just a few minutes, and it's already ready to go. If that was gloss paint, we'd be out here for an hour waiting on that to dry. Okay, so there's the hood all sanded back down. We went back over the whole thing with 320. And look, we've got all of our layers in there. I think that looks pretty cool. That looks like something that's been painted quite a few times. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go back over the whole thing with our orange. Put a nice even coat over the whole thing. Make it look pretty again. At least for a minute. Yeah, because after that we're going to dull it right back down again. And we're going to go through and burn through some of it to get down to this layers that we built up underneath it, which I think are cool, man. They kind of look artistic looking. Probably end up putting 2 coats of this orange on them because I do want nice even coverage. Man, this paint sure does lay down good. I really like the way this stuff comes out. It's nice and thick. It's got good coverage. Really awesome. I believe it's running about $7 a can at Wal Mart. At least my Walmart anyway. Yours might be different, I guess. Alright, so this is going to finish up our first coat. We'll let that dry about 30 minutes and then we'll add another one. Okay, so the second coat is just about complete, and that's all we're going to put on it. I'm going to let this sit overnight before I even make any attempt to try to sand on it or anything. That should be plenty of time. Okay, so here we are the next morning. I did let it dry overnight, just like we'd said, and it's perfect. It's perfect. Way I do is I take the back side of or the top side of my fingernails, and I rub it onto the paint just like that. Not the edges, just the back side. And you could feel if that paint's dry or not, just by how that feels. If it feels rubbery, you know it's not ready yet. But it don't. It feels great. We're ready to go. I've already been working on the other side. You know, I don't even know if I should even show y'all that. There were so many of y'all that was upset with me on this whole patina thing that you just wouldn't even give me a chance. You were just, you were just down on it. Well, I want to show you how good this is looking. So there it is, all shiny, and then you come over here and look at this. This looks just exactly like what we're wanting. All I did was take some 320 grit sandpaper on my little DA sander, and I went over it just a few times. And everything that we put underneath this is starting to come through, and it looks like an aged paint job. That's all it is. Look at this. See all the little spots here and there? Those look just like rock chips coming through. We got a little more sanding to go. We'll get rid of all the little shiny spots that are here and there, and it'll all be dull like this. This looks like a 60-year-old paint job. That's exactly what I was going for all along. I wanted this to look aged. I wasn't going to do the patina or any of that. I wasn't even going to age it. I was just going to fade it, meaning just knock the shine off. But I burnt through in a couple spots, and down the rabbit hole I went. I told y'all that was going to look good once we get the orange on it. Some of y'all just were not patient enough to wait and see, but that is exactly what it looks like. There's no way you can look at this and not think that that's an old paint job that's just made it all these years. And that's all we're really trying to imitate, is just an original paint job that has normal wear and tear, but nothing excessive, right? This would just be normal. Nothing too crazy. Same thing over here on the sides, you know, we showed y'all in the other video. It's just kind of normal wear and tear, nothing too crazy, and that's all that we're trying to imitate here. And I think we're nailing it. All we got to do is get all this to tie together. We'll finish the whole rest of the hood. I'm going to show you guys exactly how I'm doing this, so don't worry, I didn't skip out on you. So all I'm doing is just taking an old piece of 320 grit sandpaper and just kind of going, look, I'm going over my body line right here. And I want this to be just right. I don't want it to be too over the top. I don't want it to look fake or anything. So when it comes to your body lines, kind of be careful, because you'll burn through those immediately, a lot faster than you would a flat surface. But that's all I'm doing, man. Just kind of coming through here and smoothing this out. Up in here, I'm doing all by hand. Can't really get my sander in there very good without tipping it up on edge. And when you burn through with your sander, especially up on edge, it won't look natural, so I don't want that. So I'm just going to kind of come through here and just kind of age this with my sandpaper. Every once in a while, what will happen is you'll kind of burn through it. Those colors that we put underneath start to shine through, and all of a sudden, instantly, it looks old. Pretty cool. And like I said, we just want it to be subtle. We don't want it to be too crazy, so we don't have to get very carried away with it at all. So that's why I'm just kind of going slow in this area. The rest of it, you could just fire up the sander and just go, and you'll start to see the little highlights of those darker colors coming through. You'll start to see things like this where it looks like rock chips and stuff. It's really cool. You see what I'm talking about, where it looks like we got rock chips, man. I mean, what 60-year-old paint job wouldn't have rock chips, right? So you see here on my body lines where I'm just kind of just barely burning through it here and there. This is just the beginning, you know. We'll keep going with it. We'll get down in our little recessed areas, and we'll just keep working until we get it the way we want it. Now I'm gonna do one side and do like a half and half comparison, because I know some of y'all are sold on this shiny orange, and I'm telling y'all, it's just not the way to go with this. There's a cheese factor involved, you know what I mean? It just looks like an amateur paint job when it looks like this. When it looks like this, it looks like a natural factory paint job from 60 years ago, and that's all we're doing. I can't say it enough. That's all we're doing, is just trying to imitate that look. All right, y'all, bear with me. I'm gonna try to give you as much of this stuff uncut as I can, just to kind of really, this is to show people that's never done it before just how easy it really is. This is really my first attempt at aging a paint job and doing patina or any of that. And as you can see, I mean, it's turning out just fine. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I just want to encourage other people to, you know, give this stuff a shot, man. It's actually pretty fun. See, almost immediately that starts to show through. Here, bear with me. I want to show y'all this. You see what I'm talking about? I mean, that was minimal on the sanding. What was that, like 5 seconds of sanding? And we've already got our aging coming through. Pretty cool. I told you it's pretty easy. Put you guys back on the stand here. Oh, in case you're wondering, this is my stand. This is my tripod. Just a 4-jack, man. These things work perfect for a camera stand. So here we go. Give it a little bit more. What I like the best is, for whatever reason, every now and then a piece will just kind of pop off of there, and it looks like a rock chip. And they're so random that it looks natural. I love it. Whoa, easy now. even pressure on the sander. We're not trying to dig in or anything. Look, another one of those little natural looking rock chips. I think we got one up there too. Awesome. Oh, another one over here. Awesome. See, I'm holding the sander flat. We're not doing any of this digging in crap. Look, another rock chip. Awesome. Rock chips, a little bit of burn through going on. Awesome. There's some more stuff there. You guys, maybe we'll turn this into a drinking game. Y'all take a drink every time I say awesome. Hell, I don't know. Kind of important when you go around the curves, like take your sander and do this number. Try not to do this. If you burn through going this way, you're going to make a little tiny little burn through spot and it won't look right. So just kind of try to do that part evenly, you know. Did go ahead and pause for an air compressor break. That thing gets noisy. See how our paint is powdering up really, really nice, man. That Rustoleum sand's good. I really like it. We'll just take our air compressor, kind of blow off our sandpaper. You see how we don't have anything balling up on the sander here. If your paint's balling up on this and trying to stick to it, all that, you're not ready yet. And you won't get the cool little fade through look, because the only way you're going to get that is this has to be nice and dry, and then that'll kind of start to fade through. Otherwise, it'll just sit and kind of tear at your paint and it won't look good. It'll just look like you went through and sanded it, and that's not what we want to achieve here. We don't want this to look sanded. We want it to look like Mother Nature did it. When I get to a tight little area like this here, I just kind of play around with the sander. I don't get crazy with it. I just kind of bump around on it here and there, and then you'll get cool little spots like where we burnt through right here, and maybe a few more as we go. It looks pretty good. I like that. I think we'll call it good. Sometimes less is more. Remember that. Sometimes less is more. Don't get too carried away, unless that's what you're going for. Remember, you're the artist when it comes to all this. You do whatever you want. If you want it excessive, do it excessive. If you want it to look like something that's found in the desert, go crazy. You know, if you want it subtle, well, do it like this, I guess. I think probably where I'm most careful is on all my edges. I don't want to burn the entire edge, you know what I mean? Just a little here and there is fine. And I love it when the rock chips start forming. That just looks really good, like a real natural look. Need to go a little bit more. I'm going slow in this area because I want just a little bit like how this is. The way this is what I need this to look like, so it looks uniform all the way across the hood, you know what I mean? So we don't want to get over here and do a whole bunch and have it not tie together. Bare spots, like what are you going to do? Let it just rust? I'm actually considering putting a satin clear on this when we're done. I don't know yet. You guys leave me a comment. I wasn't going to get this carried away with it. Let me put y'all back over here. Was he going to get this carried away with it? This is me in a rabbit hole. That's what this is. I do that sometimes. I go into something thinking we're just going to do some, hey, let's do a little rattle can spray paint job. And here we are, putting in all these crazy hours into this. But I can't help it, man. We're on the right track here, dude. This is just right. This reminds me of an old truck that my dad used to have when I was a kid, dude. It looked just like this, and they painted it black, but it started off like this, and that is burned into my brain, and I couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 years old. So this is exactly what I had visioned here. There we go. Now we got a little character going on in that area. Front of the truck, especially on a corner, you're going to expect there to be a little something going on, right? 60-year-old truck. Surely something. I mean, we got the dent. We already got the dent. I don't even know if you can see it on camera, but you might as well put a little something there to go with it. Otherwise, it don't make sense. How you got a dent, no damage, no scratch, no scuff, no nothing, right? That don't make sense. Man, that's looking cool. Man, that's shiny. I can't believe that's what you guys are into. I thought you guys were cool. I'm just joking. Anyways, here we go. I finished up this side. I got the whole thing done. I think that's where I'm going to leave it. Just like that. Come on now. That looks so much better than that. Come on now. So, yeah, you guys, we'll do some more over on this side. Make this side look exactly like that side. And, you know, you guys remember all those different layers we put underneath there, different colors? You could burn down to any of that you want to by burning down. I mean, sanding through as far down as you want. I got to this stage and decided that I just love it. I absolutely love the way that looks. So I'm just going to stick with that. It's kind of like what we had over here to begin with. You know, remember, this is kind of what I was going for all along, was just where it just kind of just slightly burns through. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to open up anything more than that. You guys didn't seem to care too much for that anyway. You thought it was a bit excessive, and I agree. On this particular truck, this particular project, I should say, I do think it was a bit extreme. So that's why I got to this. I loved it so much, I just stopped there. But do you see the dents? This thing, you know, it was a work truck, so it's got dents in it, and they're just kind of all over the thing, you know. I mean, we got a big one here, we got some stuff on the door over there. Rust-free truck, but it does have its fair share of dents. We got a nice one right here. Now here's the thing, man, with the shiny paint, it sticks out like a sore thumb. I can't stand it. So when you dull it down like this and you age it, it becomes a little more acceptable. A big old dent like that, I mean, look at that. That thing's the size of the palm of my hand right here. It's acceptable. It just goes with it. We got another dent over here on this side. It goes with it. It doesn't look goofy. It doesn't look amateurish. It just looks like it was just always that way, and it's just, that's the life it had. I think it looks so much better. Now, obviously, if we had went through, popped all the dents out, prime block, did all that kind of stuff, we'd put a nice shiny paint job on it, just like we did that one over there. Same thing. But in this case, since we didn't do all that, I think this is the way to go. About done with this section of the hood. I like how that's starting to bleed through. Got a little bit more over here. A couple little spots here and there. Pretty cool. Looks like some rock chips here and there. Nice. Got a little more to go over right through here. And that sander, keeping that sander flat, going over that curve, remember. So far we've done good. We haven't gotten any kind of weird looking burn through marks with the sander. You know, that stuff that wouldn't look natural. Everything's just kind of fading through, giving it a really good look. I'm digging it, man. You guys notice I'm kind of keeping the sander going pretty slow. That way you could catch this stuff right as it starts to burn through, and you could decide whether or not that's where you want to stop. If you're going through here really fast, got your RPMs up really high on that sander, you'll burn through like 2 or 3 layers, and it's like, well, what if you didn't want to go that far? Well, too late. So this just gives you a little bit of time to react and decide if that's how far you want to go, or do you want to go a little further. So like I mentioned earlier, I just take my Scotch-Brite, and that's kind of the last thing that I do as far as getting the look that I want. I mean, we're there. That's exactly what I'm looking for right there. At this point, we could go through and we could actually spray this thing with some clear coat. Once I'm done with this, it will be prepped where all we gotta do is just wipe it off and shoot it. Now, if I was gonna do that, and I want you guys' input, y'all tell me what you think. I know a lot of you guys are on board. You want that clear coat on there. Some of you are asking, like, well, if you clear it, won't it just be shiny again? Not if we put a flattener. We could do like a kind of a semi-gloss or a satin, probably more of a satin finish. I think semi-gloss might bring it up just a little bit shinier than I want, because I want it to kind of stay like this, but I want to preserve it too. I wasn't going to do any of that before, but like I said, we're in the middle of a rabbit hole here, so this is what it's like. You get started and things start clicking, and here we are. So anyway, I hope I've got you guys on board with this. I know some of you guys don't like, you think I'm making it ugly, but I don't think there's anything ugly about this. I love the way this looks. There is nothing better than seeing an old truck that looks like it is still in really, really good shape, but you know it's still old. It's not restored. You know, it hasn't had some, you know, $10,000 paint job put on it. It's still in its I don't even know, what would you even call it? In its preserved state, whatever, I don't know. Anyway, that's what I wanted this to look like. I wanted it to look like somebody owned it, that just took care of it all these years, and the worst thing that happened to it was the paint faded, which is to be expected, and she got a few whiskey dents here and there, because, you know, she is a truck after all, right? And I think we're nailing it, y'all. I think we're nailing it. So I'd like to take this opportunity to accept all of your apologies, everyone that was getting on to me saying that I ruined it, I went too far, I have no idea what I'm doing. Go ahead and just jump on down in the old comment section. And you can send gifts if you like, you know, if you'd like to, you know, just put a little cherry on top of your apology. That's fine. Address is in the old description box. Let's clean off our sandpaper. Like new again. When it comes to these dents, if you're careful, you can cheat a little bit. Go ahead and kind of work your sander in there, but you got to go slow. Something like that. I don't really want to burn through in the dent. By the time you add the flatness, you know, you flattening out the color, you knock the shine off. By the time you do that, and then you add the patina, the dent really literally just goes away. You don't even see it anymore. Being careful for my body line right here. I don't want to burn that body line all the way down. Just a few spots here and there, and that's it. So that's turning out just right. We want this to kind of tie in with the rest of it. So far so good. Once we get down to this area, we won't have to do so much, because typically this area probably wouldn't be worn as much. It'll be faded, but it won't be worn like this as much, being that the body line's kind of slanted in. The sun doesn't really beat down on it as much as it would up here. So our patina would turn around and start to kind of pick up back here on the fender. On its upper surface, it'll look kind of like that there. So this section won't get as much. So we'll get a little bit of a break from our patina process. Once we get down there, we'll just dole it out and pretty much call it good. Liking the way that corner turned out. Show you guys. See right there? This is where you want to know when to quit, is what I'm trying to say. I think that will work perfectly. It's one of those things where less is more sometimes. And remember, we're just aging it. We're not trying to make it look like we just found this thing in a junkyard or anything. We're just trying to make it look like it's age, basically. Well, okay, let's address the front here. You see where some of our lacquer thinner and everything kind of ran over the edge. I don't like how that looks. It's not what I'm going for. The same thing happened on the other side over here. Try to get my fat head out of the way, creating a shadow. You guys see through here. I went back and kind of worked it down and just left just the right amount of it behind. Just see how I just barely left a little bit behind. Got some chips going on there. You know, kind of some gouges there on the top of the signal lamp there. Well, that's what we're going to do over here. We're just going to make it a little more subtle. And the way I'm going to do that is with a piece of 320 grit sandpaper right here and a little bit of water and our Scotch-Brite pad. We'll just go through here and just kind of work this down. Because it's on there now. You know, that was actual paint and lacquer thinner that kind of dripped over the edge when we were doing the paintbrush trick. You remember? That's what we ended up there. Just a little bit, not too bad. Let's see if I can put you guys back here. Trying to do this without a whole lot of edits. Mainly all I've really been editing out is the sound of that noisy air compressor. But here we go. Wet my sandpaper down and we will come through here and just kind of, I mean, it comes off super easy. I'm not taking all of it though. See, I'm just kind of leaving some of it behind. I think that looks natural. You know, what do y'all think? We'll come in here, just kind of work some of it back off because it's too much right now. Remember, we're going for subtle here. So we'll just kind of work some of that back off. Maybe switch over to the Scotch-Brite. Water kind of helps when you're working in some of these areas. Pardon the squeaky hood. I didn't notice it was that bad until I was editing. It's kind of annoying a little bit, but man, give her a break. She's old. I guess I could break out the WD-40 when we're done with all this. You don't want WD-40 around anything that you're painting. We'll wait till we're done with the paint work and then we'll go in and deal with that squeaky hood hinge. How about that? Continuing across the front here. Just trying to lighten this up just a little bit. We want it to have an aged look, but not a junky look. So I'll go ahead and get rid of some of this. Go back to my 320. 320 kind of breaks it down immediately. See how fast that comes off of there. And then once I get it to where it's pretty close to the way I want it to look, I'll switch over to the Scotch-Brite and finish it off there. Come through and we'll hit up this edge just a little bit. I don't want to clean it up too much because this edge right here, that's actually where two pieces meet. And they're kind of rolled, both edges are rolled, so it creates a little bit of a valley right there. And realistically, that area, 60 years old original paint, it wouldn't look so great. It would have a little bit of something going on there, you know. Chips and dirt and whatever would be forced into that, maybe even a little bit of rust. So we just want it to kind of look that way. Kind of what I'm doing right here is I don't like the drips. I just don't care for it. So I'm just kind of trying to work away the drip look, you know, where it actually ran down. And I guess right in this area, we could do a little excessive wear where, see the hood latch? Your hand would go here to cause a little bit of this paint to kind of wear away. So I was kind of trying to imitate what that would look like, having just a little excessive paint wear in this area right here. Up in here, we're going to go in, kind of touch that up a little with the spray paint, black, satin black up in here when we're done, so don't worry about that. I think we got this looking pretty good across here. I'm going to probably leave well enough alone at this point. Spray this off so you can kind of really see what it looks like. The signal light here, cleaned it off. Got a little bit of overspray on it. You guys can hate me in the comment section if you want. A little bit of overspray. We'll just go through right here and we will hit this bad boy up with our Scotch-Brite. You could also use some steel wool if you're worried about scratching it, you know, and doling it out, because this will dole it out using this red Scotch-Brite, but we don't care about that, obviously. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this all cleaned up really nice, and then what we'll do, don't rub this on the lens, by the way. That's definitely worth mentioning. Don't rub it on the lens. I've got something else we'll use on the lens. I'll show you that in just a second. But as far as the bezel itself, if you don't care about knocking that shine off, which I don't care, it actually cleaned it up a lot. Even before the overspray was on it, it was pretty dingy. If you don't care about knocking that shine off, go ahead and hit it up with your Scotch-Brite. It'll be fine. And then I've got this. Looky here, we got some. This is 0000, okay? 4 zeros, y'all. Steel wool. This is the finest steel wool you could get, I believe. Anything else would be coarser than this and would most definitely scratch your surface. Sorry about that, y'all. My battery went dead. So, anyway, there we go, man. That looks pretty good. This feels nice and smooth now, like a brand new lens. Yeah, man. 0000 on the steel wool. This is good stuff. Just finishing up the last little bit on the hood here, and I think we can pretty well call it done. After that, we'll have to go over the whole rest of the truck. The duller you make it, the lighter orange it becomes. So these panels here will need a little more sanding on them to bring them to this shade of orange. I like this shade of orange. I think it's perfect. I think this shade of orange is still a little bit too intense. So once we do the same treatment to the rest of it, it'll match that perfectly. Go through and kind of clean it up a little bit. Still got a lot of orange on there. A lot of dust. We'll get all that cleaned off. This gives you a good idea of what it would look like with a satin clear on it. Look at that. Yeah, check this out, man. We'll just go through and just kind of wipe a rag on it here. That's pretty well a semi-gloss finish right there. Maybe that's a bit much. I don't know. What do y'all think? Semi-gloss finish, satin finish, or just flat? I think flat's too much, but maybe we'll get a middle ground and just do a satin, because I do want it to have the kind of the faded out look to it. And I think maybe a semi-gloss might be a little bit too much. So yeah, see, I kind of like the way this looks better over here. Once that starts to kind of dry just a little bit, you can kind of get the effect. I think it looks really good. So, you guys leave me a comment. Tell me, what do you think? Should we do some clear coat? Would you guys be interested in watching me make a video clearing this thing? I'll do that for y'all. That's fine with me. So there you have it, man. She's done. I like that. I like how that turned out. I think that looks great. I think it looks natural. Nothing over the top. It's not underdone or overdone or anything. I think we nailed it, man. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it. I think we nailed it. What do y'all think? Leave me a comment. Hey, man, even if you're one of the ones that was a naysayer before, and maybe I just won you over, changed your mind, let me know, man. That's awesome. Hell yeah. If you still hate it, tell me that too. I don't know. Anyway, everybody, everybody's got their own opinion. Some people, they were sold on it being shiny and they just weren't having it any other way. But hey, you know what? I like this, and I think it looks cool, and it was fun. Now, obviously, we got a little more to go. We got to get down here and do a little more work on the rest of it, but we'll do that on another video. And you know what? Leave me a comment. Tell me, you want me to clear coat this? What do you think, man? A satin finish, flat, or semi-gloss? Personally, I'm thinking satin ought to do, but you tell me, man. What do you think? Hey, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see y'all next time.